What's going on, guys? We got the FMS P-40B Warhawk 1400 millimeter, and it is a windy day out here in North Carolina. And this thing has already been flown off camera. We got a little bit of a wing scrape from some turbulence on this right wing here. I believe it was right there. Nothing major, not a little bit of gray paint or some electrical tape wouldn't fix. It's getting blown around in my hand right now, but we're gonna take it up in some winds and show you guys what it can do. We discovered that the Warhawk's ESC doesn't like high voltage packs. What I'm talking about. We currently have 15.8 volts available to the plane. And then when I go to throttle it up, look at this. Full throttle right now. $15.64 volts. Should not look like this. That's just bad. Really sucks. I wouldn't even say this is the plane's fault. I don't even know if this is FMS's fault. I just think it's the ESC is just really not playing with the batteries. It could just be this ESC in particular, or it could affect all of the Warhawk ESCs. We honestly don't know. We don't have all of them to test with us right now. The issue is that the ESC appears to consider 4S high voltage packs to be 5S packs, meaning that it throttles back at 16 volts instead of at 13 volts. We also discovered that you can fly a high voltage pack to just below 16.8 volts, land it, reconnect the battery, and then the ESC acts totally normal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's no issues whatsoever if you fly on LiPo or HV cells charged to 4.2 volts per cell, so just keep this in mind if you're flying SMC's high voltage packs. We're going to be flying this on 4400 SMC high voltage packs, 4 cells, which I'm going to have to hold the plane weird to keep it from blowing away in the wind. You can kind of see it buried in there, nice and locked in place. It was flying a little nose heavy, so I pushed the battery a little bit further back. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. However, you are going to notice that I had to do some jury-rigged, what do you want to call that? Electrical tape on the wheel because it's missing the hubcap for some reason. So I ordered a new set from FMS, and the wheels will come in hopefully within a week or two. So next time we fly it, this little gray electrical tape system won't be there anymore. But for now, we're going to put it on the runway, get it up in this crazy wind, and hope for the best. All right, we got the full flaps and everything set on this, bone stock. It's gonna be fun trying to take off into the wind facing myself, but here we go. There we go. Try to be a little nicer to it, but man, there's just not a whole lot you can do in these winds. I'm glad she knit me a GoPro wind mask. That's really helping out a lot. One thing we did notice with this plane is that there has a decided lack of power with the SMC packs. I think they don't play well with the ESC. So it does tend to go into what feels like a low voltage situation where you can still fly the plane, but it's kind of like you have like 15 volts and it's still complaining like it's almost got none. But anyway, we'll investigate. Maybe it won't happen in this battery pack, but I flew for a solid 8 minutes and I had 3.9 volts left. Just something to be concerned with. You may have to reprogram this ESC to get it to play with it better. This thing is so good. Look at the roll rate on this thing, so good. I have always loved the P-40. Fun fact about me, when I lived in Florida, I used to live in a town called Apopka, and Apopka had a high school called Apopka High School, and I went there and I was in the Marine Corps ROTC. We used to get extra credit for bringing in plastic models, and I had a really nicely detailed P-40 that I made, brought in, and it is, to my knowledge, still hanging up over 20 years later. And I'm just happy to have another P-40 to fly because this thing is beautiful, excellent roll rate, very scale flyer. Looks amazing. Oh, I stalled it. Looks amazing out here in the clouds. It's so nice to have a day with some cumulus clouds for a change. It really makes a big difference in how these planes look. Nice, friendly looking, puffy cotton ball clouds. Kind of betrays the fact that the wind is not our friend today. It's very turbulent out here. Let's get a nice pass in front of the camera, level the wings out, bring it over. It's handling so far pretty well. We're 2 minutes into the flight. There we go. Look at it go. You okay, dear?
That was a little close to me.
Sorry about that. I'll stand over here. It makes it a little easier. This thing is rock solid. I do have an AS3X gyro in it. I did not tell you guys what the settings are, but I will probably edit this so that you can see what the settings are before we fly. Skipped a little bit of vital pre-flight info there, I suppose. Let's go ahead and actually bring the gear out and show you guys what a touch and go looks like on a tail dragger like this. Golly, those gear look so good. I'm gonna go ahead and bank it in.
Full flat.
Keep that nose turned into the turn. There we go. Gonna keep about 25 to 30% throttle to keep it coming into this wind. Using some right rudder to keep the plane pointed away. There we go, some wind. Turbulence, there we go. Straighten out, straighten out. It is not easy to fly today. All right, let's try that again. Keep thinking like, it's so weird, the wind will die and then randomly comes right back and it's just so turbulent that the plane is not enjoying it. All right, full flaps coming in, lining up for the runway. Here comes the wind again. Let's try our best. There we go, not too bad so far. Straightening out, not half bad. Go from that tree. So the touch and goes aren't too bad. I could turn up the AS3X gains a little bit more. I think that would help. But for sure, it's definitely a great little plane to fly. I love the way this thing looks. It looks like we're getting hit with the SMC pack problem, or the voltage cutting off. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring it in. Unfortunately, it's not giving me the throttle response that I need. All right, get her lined up. Doing my best to keep her flying. All right, we'll keep this in, hopefully. In the meantime, we're gonna cut. I'll try to put a different battery into it, maybe a spektrum pack. We'll keep it from freaking out on us. And then we'll see what we can get. All right, we're gonna give it another shot with these SMC packs. I'm gonna taxi it over to my wife. I actually reprogrammed the receiver using the stick. This is a Hobbywing ESC that is, you know, FMS branded. So I put it on the lowest cutoff it could possibly be put on. At least I hope it did. Plane seems like it's responding just fine. We're gonna give it another shot. The wind is dying down a little bit. We're gonna go in half flaps. Of course, there comes the wind just as I say that. All right, here we go. Get her lined up and try taking off again.
20 seconds. Flaps gear up.
Definitely feels better on the sticks. Of course, I said that in the beginning too with the SMC pack originally. It's not the SMC pack's fault. It's just the way the Hobbywing ESC is interacting with it. It seems like what's going on is it thinks that it's like a 5-cell pack, so when it gets below a certain voltage, it just kind of cuts it off. So this should help alleviate that. Worst case scenario, I'll just have to go back home and put an Avian 100 amp into it. That'll fix the problem permanently, because those play well with it. Look at how good this thing looks in the air. Very solid performer. Look at that. Even with this wind, it's very rock solid. And that's just normal gyro gains. Again, I promise I'll show you guys what those are. I got a little discombobulated flying this plane with the battery level being what it was. This thing is so responsive. I love it. Let's do an inverted pass with it. Man, this feels good. Throttle back down as we get closer to the ground. Let's drop the gear and bring it into another touch and go. This thing actually lands really well. On a day with no wind, this would be an absolute champ to fly. Absolutely no problem at all. Full flaps, the split flaps are really nice. Whoa, turbulence. So what I mean about the wind. When it dies down though, it actually isn't too bad, but the problem is there's hangars just past that clearing where you see the shadow on the ground, and what's going on is you're seeing mechanical turbulence. I said that really weird. You're seeing mechanical turbulence coming from those hangars. They're huge, and they're kind of blanking out the wind, and the plane is hitting the wind at odd angles as it comes in. So that's generally why you see the planes look weird coming in from this angle, because right about now they're going to start hitting. Yep, there's the first drop from the building, second drop right there from the next building. Now everything smooths out since we're next to trees, and then it looks a lot better. So just something to be aware of. It's not like I'm stalling the plane. It's definitely not that. So much power now. Yeah, I think by this point earlier, it was already complaining about low voltage, even though the battery still had plenty of power left. So I think I adjusted it. You can't disable the cutoff entirely like you can with the Avians, unfortunately. But either way, let's get back to talking about the plane. This thing is just absolutely stunning. I mean, look at how good it looks. Let's bring it down next to the taxiway, a little bit further away in case we get caught by wind shear again. There we go. About half throttle right now. Not even half throttle, like 30% actually. It's just like a piece of aviation history in my hands right now. It's so nice. It sounds like it actually is starting to throttle back. Yeah, we're not getting full throttle anymore. It's really unfortunate because these SMC packs are so good. It just sucks that when you get that one ESC that doesn't want to play with them. Let's throttle back, bring it in. We'll just work with it.
Flaps up. Gear up.
Yeah, this isn't even Danny's fault, but the plane is basically locked to half throttle most of the time we fly. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're stuck at. So you know what? I think we're gonna get ready to end it here after a couple more touch and goes, because that's all we're gonna really be able to do with it.
Full flaps.
And then see what else we can get by with. It's just really unfortunate. But it's not like it can't fly, you're just not getting the full potential of the model.
Flaps up.
Yeah, it's really, really struggling for power right now. But it's flying, it's just not too well into the wind. I'm not gonna push it anymore. I think we're gonna end up crashing it if we do. So we're gonna go ahead and bring it in, half flaps. We don't even need full flaps for this. Bring it in, and we're gonna swap the ESC out when I get home to an Avian so we stop having this issue. As you can see, I mean, otherwise the plane is phenomenal. It handles really well. It does have that classic tip over on the ground with being a low slung Warbird like this with low wings. But I mean, it is just absolutely beautiful. It is just very, very, very unfortunate that the plane is suffering from a complete lack of power. I'm gonna show it to you guys again so you can see what I'm talking about. We currently have 15.8 volts available to the plane. And then when I go to throttle it up, look at this. Full throttle right now. $15.64 volts. Should not look like this. That's just bad. Really sucks. I wouldn't even say this is the plane's fault. I don't even know if this is FMS's fault. I just think it's the ESC is just really not playing with the batteries. But I think with an ESC replacement, which I would recommend for this plane based on my experiences so far, I'm gonna knock a full point off the score. In terms of like actual, you know, aesthetics and everything else and the way the plane handles, there's nothing wrong with it. It's absolutely beautiful. It is just really unfortunate that it's got this issue. And it's not the plane's fault, it's the electronics fault. So I don't even know if I can knock the point off for that because it's not really fair to it. It's something to be concerned with and be aware of when you're flying it. This thing is, let's get into the review section of it. Everything is a gapless hinge on this. All of them, except for the split flaps because they're just, you know, foam hinged. The overall paint, fit and finish, everything about this thing is just, it just screams good quality. It just sucks that the ESC doesn't stand up to that. It's really, really unfortunate. We're gonna replace it and we're gonna fly it with an Avian ESC in the future, near future even. I wanna get it back up because I had a lot of fun flying this thing, even though I would say it came a couple close calls. I was like, why am I not getting the power I need? Getting a couple points trying to come into that wind, trying to take off and rotate and get around, and it just was not throwing the nose around the way I was expecting it to. This is a channel first. I don't think I've ever had a crappy ESC in a plane before. Normally I can fawn over these things because the build quality and the production quality of these models is so good that it's really hard to give them less than an 8 most of the time. So in this point in time, I'm gonna give it an 8.5. If I have to give it 2 scores to be fair to it, I would say it's a 9.5 in terms of flight performance, in terms of overall looks, fit and finish. Just everything about this is almost perfect. The issue lies in the fact that the damned ESC can't keep up with the power load on the plane, and it's just not delivering the way it's supposed to. That is super unfortunate. It sucks, but therein lies the fruit of the efforts. That's just how it goes sometimes. Very rare that it's ever happened. I'm gonna replace it through no fault of the plane. you know, if I was to give the plane a score again, 9.5 by itself with the ESC issue, let's say an actual 8. Go with an 8 on that one, because you'd have to replace it. You might have a one laying around you could fix it with. Not a huge deal breaker for everybody, but definitely sucks. It definitely needs to be fixed. And FMS, if you're watching, and I know you are, please, let's find a better ESC for this thing.
Takeoffs are similar to any other taildragger Warbird. If you've flown a P-51, you can fly this P-40. It's not very heavy, so it gets easily caught by wind gusts and mechanical turbulence. Be aware of this on windier days. You can run a heavier battery, but that does make it stall easier. Good stick and rudder practice will get your touch and goes looking solid, even in turbulent wind. You'll want to dance on the rudder stick, but don't over control it. If you let up on the controls, you'll pay for it with a runway excursion. Keep control of the tail with the rudder throughout the transition from the tail flying to tail wheel down, and it will never ground loop or go off the runway. It really is a solid bird. One thing we definitely noticed trying to hover it off camera is that it will sometimes go into a knife edge spin when it stalls, and it can take a huge amount of altitude to recover from that. We definitely don't recommend trying to hover it. We couldn't even make it do a knife edge spin on command. That's how bad the stall can get. The P-40 is almost perfect. Just don't load high voltage packs into it that are fully charged. We recommend using batteries that are charged to 16.8 volts before you fly with it, and you should have no issues at all. If you like what you see, consider picking it up via the affiliate link in the description. We get a small commission and you get informed about what these models can actually do. Use the code referral TwobrosRC for 10% off your first order at fmshobby.com, and use the code TwobrosRC for $10 off any order over $100. Thanks for watching, and be sure to scrape up a wing for us.